Hi, I'm Ken Merbler, Ken Merbler Consulting Group. The video you're about to watch is about quality through prevention and the key factors that can make it a powerful profit driver. But you got to make sure that you're willing to invest in prevention and to live prevention. Our clients have seen well over 100% return on their investment in prevention. Enjoy the video and let me know. I'm at kenmerbler.com. Take care. What if I told you that for every dollar you spend in prevention, you could save $10 in fixing the problem? In fact, that number is quite light. I would say it's $1 to $100. And this is not just theory. This is what we see. Leading companies are really working smarter, not harder. And these are the companies really that I love to talk about because they're into prevention. They're not into reactive. And that's companies like IBM, Toyota, Intel, a bunch of them really have efforts involved in preventing problems. They're looking to the future to say, what could happen? How do I make that defect free? So their success then helps them to spend time working on the future and growing their business. In this short video today, what I'd like to do is go further with prevention versus reaction and share with you some of the keys to making this thing successful. And I think one of the things just right now to talk about is that you really need a strategic process that's data-driven, and I'm involved with quality through prevention, which helps people bring out prevention, focus on that, which drives good requirements, a performance standard in the measurement. But they also make sure that it's driven throughout the company. In other words, HR, legal, finance, our field operations, sales, marketing, I could go on and on. Now, if you want to launch it in one department and then when you want to go with the whole thing, you do it, that's fine too. The other thing you might want to consider too is what else am I doing for quality now? Maybe I can bring that into this too. But first of all, you have to lay out the plan. So one of the things that makes this happen is the communications framework. That's the 4 absolutes. It was invented by a guy named Philip B. Crosby in his book, Quality is Free. It's the definition of quality, conformance to requirements. It's the system of quality, which is prevention, which we're talking about as kind of the lead component. It's the performance standard of quality, which is 0 defects. How often do you want the requirement to happen? And I'm not talking perfection. I'm saying, I just hired you for a job and the job starts at 8 o'clock. You can get here at 7:30. So you have 30 minutes to jump in the door, okay? But don't get here after 8 o'clock. So most requirements have a tolerance, plus or minus. And lastly is the measurement. And there's nothing wrong with control charts, other ways that you might want to measure. But when you want to bring about the business and focus the business, you need to use money, the price of nonconformance. So think about those 4 as how they would fit into your company. A lot of people ask me, they say, could you give me some examples of where prevention could have happened and could have saved somebody? The first one was Wells Fargo, the bank, probably 2 years ago. They had a contest. The corporate said, let's have new accounts. And so they told field operations, give me new accounts. And they did. But they created fictitious accounts. They brought in real people's names, and they had massive amount of lawsuits. They had a preventative process. They didn't use it to review the situation. They didn't do it. And actually, the preventative process wasn't that good. They admitted that. So they spent $4 billion fixing that problem. The second one is an aerospace company called Boeing. 737 MAX, wonderful airplane. New software system to help it navigate. Problem is, again, they had a preventative process. They didn't use it, and it wasn't that good either. And they didn't have a backup system. They didn't process prove the software, and they didn't train the pilots on the what-if scenarios. 300 people plus died, and they're still spending billions. I think they've gone through 4 or 5 billion now. The last example I'll give you is the Hyatt Regency, a hotel. They had a walkway between their hotel and an office building, and so they had a construction company do this, and the trouble is the construction company didn't use their process proving for materials. So what's the material call out to handle the load, the max load on that walkway? The walkway collapsed, 100 people died, massive lawsuits, 3 or 4 billion. and they're still fighting that situation. So those are three horrific examples. And the worst thing there is the loss of life. So, what does prevention do? It helps so much. It eliminates that right there, okay? It gives you consistency in operations, gives you customer satisfaction. It gives you a chance to spend time growing the business instead of fighting fires. So when you think about now implementing prevention, a lot of people have asked me, well, what are the steps? And I go, well, there's 6 of them that we use, and let me share them with you. Number 1 is clear requirements, and I'll go into a couple of these in a minute. The number 2 is well-defined processes. Number 3 is process proving. Number 4 is AI. Maybe you want to introduce AI. Number 5 is controllable processes, and number 6 is you got to have policies and systems to make sure that all comes together. Let's go back now and just talk about clear requirements, unambiguous requirements, something that I can train to. Now let me give you an example of a poor requirement. The system should load quickly. The system should load quickly. What does quickly mean? To me, it can mean 5 seconds. To you, it can mean 30 minutes. Somebody else a day. Maybe I should say something like the system should load in 2 seconds on the dashboard if you're using your standard broadband connection. Pretty specific. So I have an opportunity there to not have a failure. Let's take the second one, well-defined processes. What am I talking about here? Clear objectives. And a process is something in the middle that has input and has output. So I need clear requirements on both sides. What do you want on the output side? What do you need on the input side? Materials, people, intellectual property, whatever you need, okay? So let's just look at a poor example here. Handle customer complaints quickly. What does quickly mean? To you, it might mean 24 hours. To me, it's the next hour. But maybe I should say this. Once I have a customer problem, I'm going to enter it, number 1, in the CRM system in, let's say, 24 hours. And 48 hours, I'm going to send you an email, the customer, and tell you that we're working it. And then lastly, I'm going to solve it within 5 days. That's very clear. I can train people on that. I can't train on quickly, but I can train on that. So let's look at process proving now. Process proving simply means, can the process scale? I'm running this volume right now, 10 something or an hour, and all of a sudden it's 50 an hour. Can it handle that volume? Do I need more input? I need more output, right? So I'm going to need some changes, so I got to make sure the process can scale. One of the biggest problems there is people don't involve the people that are in the process. They say, oh, she doesn't know, or they don't need to be involved. And I'm going, yes, they do. They're on the input side or the output side. They desperately need to be involved. Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay, so we involve the right people. They understand the requirements, and we prove out the process. Lastly, as far as the ones I can have time to talk to today is AI. Reason I think AI could help is it has a learning capability. General AI has a learning capability that can help forecast. It looks at trends. It says, maybe this process needs to be adjusted because now we're getting a lot more input than we ever have, and we're getting, significant output or whatever the situation is. Maybe AI should take the whole process, maybe not. But at least it should be a participative member, maybe, helping us monitor that, measure it. So those are the 4 we have time to today. And so in closing, we've talked about prevention versus being reactive. And we're talking about we want time to grow. We've talked about the quality through prevention process being a strategic effort to integrate prevention into your business. We've looked at the 4 absolutes, the framework for communication. The conformance to requirements is the definition of quality. Persistent is prevention. 0 defects is the standard. And a measurement is price of nonconformance. So it's in dollars. And lastly, we looked at the 6 steps of prevention. Clear requirements, well-defined processes, process proving, maybe integrating AI, having controllable processes, and then having procedures and systems in order to carry out. So if this interests you, if you need to look at your opportunity for introducing prevention across the company, send me an email. Let's talk about it at ken@kenmerbler.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Hope you enjoyed the video. And I guess you've wondered, how could I apply this to myself? And the question I ask you right off the bat is, have you looked at the waste in your company, the price of nonconformance, the scraps, the reworks, the warranties, things like that? Because the idea of prevention is to eliminate those kinds of things. Our clients see their profit increase initially 15 to 20% if they in fact are committed to prevention. If you've enjoyed that and look at that as a potential for your company, send me an email at kenmerbler.com. I'd be happy to sit down and talk with you in person, or we can have a call on the phone or the computer, whichever way it works for you, and explore how this might apply to your business. Thank you. Bye-bye.